The day my family threw me out with nothing but a suitcase was the day I won. Not just the lottery, though, that happened too, but something even bigger: the freedom to finally live my life. The irony: they called me a failure, said I was wasting my potential. By dawn, I had millions in my bank account, and not one of them knew. If you've ever been told your dreams are unrealistic, this story is for you. Like, comment, and share if you've ever been underestimated by those closest to you. I'm 28, from a small town where dreams are only real if they come with a salary and benefits. My parents, corporate perfectionists. My brother, the golden child. Me, the one who dared to believe that handmade art could change lives. I made jewelry out of thrift store junk, and I loved it. But love doesn't pay rent, or so they said. I tried. I went to college, got the job, wore the blazer, smiled through 9 to 5 monotony. But at night, I came alive, sketching, soldering, creating. My online shop was growing slowly. I even had a boutique showing interest. Still, they didn't believe. And when I quit my job to go full-time on my craft, they lost it. That same night, they told me to pack my bags. Little did they know, that night would change everything. I grew up in a house where success meant security. My dad, Thomas, was a bank manager who believed stability was the only form of love. My mom, Ellen, taught high school math and saw dreams as dangerous distractions. My brother, Darren, the golden child, full scholarship, corporate job. Fiancé by 26. Me, I made jewelry out of junk and posted it online. They called it a phase. By the time I was 12, I was selling beaded bracelets to classmates. At 16, I'd built a basic website, but instead of praise, I got warnings. That won't pay rent, Dad said. Art doesn't come with benefits, Mom added. So I caved. I got the business degree, wore the blazer, showed up to a cubicle every morning like a good adult. But at night, I made things. I soldered, I sketched, I created, and my little Etsy shop. It grew, slowly but surely. Still, my family didn't care. No matter how many 5-star reviews I got, they only asked one thing: when are you going to get serious? After college, I moved back home to save money. What started as temporary turned into 4 years of tension. Every dinner became a courtroom. Richard's son can get you an interview, Mom would suggest. Dad left job postings on my pillow. Darren rolled his eyes every time I mentioned my shop. Only Amber, my best friend, ever believed in me. You've got something real, she said. You just need space to grow. That space never came until I forced it. One Tuesday night, I told them I had quit my job. I thought I was ready. I wasn't. The room went silent. Then came Dad's voice. You did what I'm focusing on my jewelry full time, I replied. I've saved some money and I have a plan. $600 in sales isn't a business, he scoffed. It's a garage sale. Mom didn't yell. She just looked at me like I was a stranger. You're throwing everything away, I tried to explain. The boutique interest, the growth online, none of it mattered. That's when I noticed a folder on the counter, my private sales reports. They'd gone through my things. You read my documents? I asked, stunned. Dad didn't deny it. If you live under our roof, we have the right to know what's going on. Then he said it. The sentence that ended everything. If you're serious about this, you can't do it here. They kicked me out. No plan. No warning. Just pack your things. I spent the night crying into a suitcase, the same one Grandma May gave me when I graduated. She was the only one who ever said, "You have magic hands." At 8 a.m., I rolled it down the stairs. Dad didn't say goodbye. Mom just said, "This is for your own good." It was raining. Of course it was. I called Amber. She was at the airport flying to Phoenix. Use the spare key, she said, but her place was still under repair after a pipe burst. I called 4 more friends. No answer. No space. No help. So I walked. I dragged my suitcase downtown soaked and humiliated until I found a rundown motel with a flickering vacancy sign. "Rough night," the woman at the desk asked. You could say that. Her name tag said Rebecca. She didn't ask questions, just handed me a key and said room 4. Coffee's ready at 6. The room was tiny. Cold. The sheets smelled like bleach. But it was dry. And it was mine. I collapsed on the bed shoes, still wet hair plastered to my face. And that's when I remembered the lottery ticket in my purse. It was Tuesday night. The same night Grandma and I used to check the numbers. I almost didn't look. Almost. I almost didn't check the numbers. Lying there in that dim motel room, mascara still streaked down my face, I told myself it was pointless. Just one more thing to hope for, only to be let down again. But then I heard Grandma May's voice in my head. Your dreams need a little magic sometimes. I reached into my bag, pulled out the crumpled ticket, and opened the lottery app. System maintenance. Check back in 6-8 hours. Of course, even the universe was buffering. I tossed my phone onto the bed and let out a bitter laugh. Sleep didn't come easy. My mind kept racing. Anger, shame, fear all swirling. What would I do tomorrow? Where would I go after this one night I finally dozed off around 3 a.m.? When I woke up, the room was filled with early light and the distant sound of traffic. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a notification from the app. Congratulations, you've won. My heart skipped. It had to be a glitch. Or maybe I won $5. I tapped the app. The winning numbers lit up: 08, 17, 23, 42, 54, 09. I froze. Those were Grandma's numbers. The ones she played every week. The ones she left me in that little leather notebook with the gold embossed initials. My hand shook as I reached for the ticket in my purse. I laid it beside the phone. Every single number matched. No, this had to be a prank, or a dream, or some cruel simulation. I Googled the winning numbers. Same result. Then I saw it. Powerball jackpot. $94 million. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, looked again. The app said after taxes, I'd walk away with $37 million. I couldn't breathe. I actually dropped the phone and had to sit on the floor just to stay upright. The world spun. I called the lottery office, my voice cracking with every word. The woman on the line asked for the barcode on my ticket, then put me on hold for what felt like hours. When she came back, her voice was calm, official, but different. Congratulations, ma'am. We can confirm you are the sole winner of last night's draw. I couldn't speak, couldn't even say thank you. I just cried. Rebecca, the motel clerk, knocked gently on my door. Everything okay in there? I opened it, tears still fresh. I won, I whispered. The lottery. I won. She blinked. The lottery. I nodded, holding out the ticket like proof of a miracle. Rebecca pulled me inside and made coffee while I tried to remember how to breathe. When I told her about the eviction, my jewelry business, the family pressure, she didn't ask questions. She just listened. When I asked if I could stay a few extra nights, she said yes before I finished the sentence. I insisted on paying. Actually, I asked, what would it cost to rent out every room here for a week? She stared. Why privacy? And I think you and Donald could use the help. I'd overheard their late-night argument about overdue bills through the thin motel walls. She didn't deny it. 15 rooms. That's around 6 grand. I handed her a check and said, round it up for the coffee. It was the first time in days I felt powerful. Later that afternoon, I contacted a financial advisor, Rebecca's cousin, discreet and professional. We met the next morning. He helped me set up a blind trust so I could stay anonymous. I signed the back of the ticket, trembling, and slid it into a sealed envelope like it was radioactive. We talked plans, investments, safety. But what I cared about most, freedom. I wasn't going to flash the money. No flashy cars, no headlines, no calls to my parents. I wanted to build something, not out of spite, but out of truth. For years, I'd been told that my art was a hobby, that my passion was impractical, that I was immature. Now, I had the resources to prove them all wrong, but more importantly, to prove myself right. That night, I sat in the motel bed, opened my sketchbook, and drew my first piece in weeks. A necklace made of rose gold and moonstone, delicate, defiant, and glowing. I named it Rain Doesn't Last Forever, because it didn't. For the next 3 days, I disappeared. No calls, no social media, no signs of where I went. I wasn't hiding because I was scared. I just needed time. Time to breathe. Time to remember what it felt like to not be constantly judged or pushed or questioned. The financial paperwork went through faster than I expected. Within 72 hours, I was officially the owner of a blind trust worth 37 million odds. I moved out of the motel, but not without leaving Rebecca and Donald a little something extra, a paid-off mortgage and 6 months' worth of operating costs transferred anonymously. My next stop was a modest but beautiful apartment in the city. Sunlight poured in through tall windows, and for the first time in years, I could finally see my future. And I didn't owe that vision to anyone but myself, and maybe Grandma May. I spent a week in quiet bliss. No pressure, no deadlines, just me, my tools, and the first real studio space I'd ever had. Then on a random Wednesday morning it happened. I ran into my brother. I was grabbing a coffee at a downtown cafe when I heard my name, my real name, spoken with surprise. "Hey, is that you?" I turned. Darren stood near the sugar counter, coffee in hand, dressed in his usual business casual armor. He looked me up and down, clocking the expensive bag slung over my shoulder and the soft leather boots I never would have worn back home. "You look different," he said. "I am." He shifted awkwardly. "Mom and Dad have been, well, worried." I raised an eyebrow. "They kicked me out." "I know," he admitted. "They thought you'd come back after a day or two." "Well, I didn't." He looked at the ground. "You didn't answer anyone's calls. I got a new number." He bit his lip, then asked, "Can we talk?" We sat at a corner table. I didn't say much. I didn't need to. Darren filled the silence with nervous small talk, eyes drifting to my watch, my phone, my demeanor. "So, did you get a new job or something?" he finally asked. "Something like that." I let the pause sit heavy. He squirmed. They're really worried, he repeated. They said they overreacted. That maybe you were right all along. I gave a short laugh. They didn't even know what I was doing. How could I be right in their eyes? Look, he said, lowering his voice. Why don't you come home? At least talk to them. Clear the air. I'll think about it, I said, even though I already had. 2 days later, I invited them to my new place. I didn't tell them why. They showed up together, Mom in her pressed blouse, Oa in his accountant uniform, both looking uncomfortable in the upscale building. The doorman greeted me by name, which threw them off. When the elevator opened to my apartment, Mom's eyes widened. This is where you live. For now. Dad's eyes scanned everything, the furniture, the view, the designer kitchen. His brain was already calculating monthly rent. I invited them to sit. I stayed standing. I'm not here to rehash everything I said, but I need you to hear something. They exchanged nervous glances. The night you kicked me out, I slept in a motel, alone, in the rain, with everything I owned packed in a suitcase Grandma gave me. Mom looked down. Dad's jaw clenched. You said my business was a fantasy, that I was irresponsible, that I needed to wake up. I took a deep breath, then pulled out a laminated piece of paper. And handed it to Dad. He squinted at it. Mom gasped. It was the winning lottery ticket. The night you pushed me out was the same night I won $94 million, I said. I walked away with 37. Silence. Long, heavy, loaded silence. Dad opened his mouth, then closed it again. Mom's hand went to her chest. You're joking, she whispered. I'm not. They didn't speak. For once, they didn't know what to say. I sat across from them. I didn't tell you sooner because I wanted space. Time to build something on my own without interference. And you have Dad finally asked. I have a new apartment, a studio. My jewelry business has rebranded and relaunched. I've hired 2 assistants and secured a deal with a luxury boutique in New York. Mom covered her mouth with her hand. I didn't just win money, I said. I won the chance to prove I never needed your approval to succeed. I needed my own. Dad exhaled. This is incredible. Unbelievable, Mom added. No, I said. What's unbelievable is that I spent years trying to be someone else to make you happy, and it still wasn't enough. They both looked down. I'm not bitter, I continued, but I'm not coming back to the version of family we had. If there's going to be a relationship moving forward, it's going to be on my terms. Dad nodded slowly. We understand. I don't want you to understand, I said. I want you to accept it. They left quietly that night. No hugs, no tears. But maybe, just maybe, the first seeds of respect had been planted. I didn't win the lottery to get rich. I won it to get free. The night my parents left my apartment, I sat by the window, watching the city lights blur through the rain. For the first time, they hadn't tried to argue guilt trip or lecture me. That silence. It felt more powerful than any apology. But I wasn't looking for closure from them anymore. I was building something bigger. The next morning, I stood in my new studio, a bright, airy space with sunlight dancing across polished stone and brushed copper. My workbench sat beneath a massive pinboard filled with sketches, stones, textures, names. Each piece told a story, each one mine. I named my new business May and Light after Grandma May, who believed in me when no one else did. The logo was engraved in gold foil across every tag, every box, every card. Beneath it, my tagline, handcrafted with conviction. Orders started coming in fast. The boutique in New York doubled their order. A lifestyle influencer posted one of my necklaces. My inbox exploded. It was overwhelming, but for once it was the kind of overwhelm I'd chosen. Amber returned from her trip and was the first person I invited to the studio. She walked in, paused, then hugged me without saying a word. "You built this," she finally whispered. "I did. You okay?" I hesitated. "Yeah, I think I finally am." We sat on the floor with iced coffee surrounded by spools of wire trays of stones, shipping boxes. "You know," she said, "most people who win the lottery blow it on cars and yachts." "I bought 42 rolls of eco-friendly bubble wrap," I replied dryly. She laughed. "Of course you did." But she wasn't wrong. I wasn't blowing the money. I was investing it, quietly, strategically. I met weekly with my financial team. We set up a foundation in Grandma's name to support young artists from underserved communities. I funded grants anonymously. I gave without fanfare. Because I didn't want credit. I just wanted meaning. 3 weeks later, Darren called. "Mom's been asking about you," he said. "I bet. She told the women at church you bought your couch with small business profits." I nearly choked on my tea. "Look," Darren added, "I know we weren't supportive, but seeing what you've done, it's impressive." "Thanks," I said carefully. "And if you ever need someone to help with inventory or logistics." I smiled. "Darren, are you trying to apply for a job?" He laughed. "Maybe. I'll think about it." I wasn't ready to hire my brother, but I wasn't ruling it out either. Then one afternoon, I got a text from Mom. "Dinner at our place next Saturday. Just us. No expectations. Just family." I stared at the message for a long time. Amber read over my shoulder. "You gonna go?" "I don't know," I said. "I'm not the same person they kicked out." "No," she replied. "But maybe that's the point." I went. And it was awkward at first, but also quieter, gentler. They didn't bring up jobs or benefits or how Darren was doing better. Instead, Mom brought out her photo albums. She showed me baby pictures I hadn't seen in years. Dad complimented the necklace I wore my own design. Said it reminded him of a sunrise he saw once in Arizona. Small things, but real. I didn't forgive everything that night, but I started to understand them. They were scared, scared of failure, of instability, of watching me struggle. They thought they were protecting me. They just didn't realize they were suffocating me. A week later, Mom showed up to my studio with a box. "I found these in the attic," she said. "Your old sketches. Thought you might want them." I opened it. My first designs from middle school, ones she used to mock. "Thank you," I said quietly. Before she left, she turned to me and asked, "Can I try to make something one day?" I blinked. "You?" She nodded. "I've always wanted to try pottery, but I never thought I was creative enough." "Come next week," I said. "We'll get our hands dirty." She smiled. "For real?" Later that night, I sat alone in my studio, hands stained with metal dust, heart strangely full. Money hadn't fixed everything, but it had given me the power to build the life I always dreamed of, on my terms. No one could take that from me now. The day I launched the first full collection under May and Light, I sat on the studio floor, holding my breath, watching orders pour in from cities I'd never visited: Chicago, Austin, even London. It didn't feel real, but the numbers didn't lie. By the end of the first week, nearly everything was sold out. 3 items had wait lists, and one, my personal favorite, a delicate rose gold choker called Quiet Resistance, was worn by a rising indie actress at a film premiere. She tagged my brand. The internet did the rest. In the weeks that followed, my life shifted gears fast. I hired 2 part-time assistants, both young artists juggling day jobs, who reminded me of, well, me. One was a graphic design student, the other a painter working retail to stay afloat. They were grateful for the paycheck. I was grateful for the help and their quiet electric energy. I rented the space next door and started building what I called the Light Room, a creative co-working hub for young makers. No rent, no judgment, just a space to create. People thought I was crazy. Artists don't make money, they said. They don't stay consistent. They don't run real businesses. But I didn't care. I wasn't just investing in a brand. I was investing in people who'd been told the same lie I had, that creativity was only valuable if it could be measured in profit margins. The day the Lightroom opened, I stood in the middle of the studio and watched 8 people, some in their 20s, some older, unbox clay fabric beads and dreams. A small banner hung over the entrance. This space was built by someone who was once told to give up. She didn't. That same afternoon, I got a text from my dad. "Your mom told me about the community space. Sounds like you're doing something big. Would love to see it sometime." I stared at the message for a while, then typed back, "You're welcome anytime. But this time, you'll have to let me give the tour." We didn't talk often, but the messages became more frequent. Short, tentative check-ins, an occasional link to a jewelry article, sometimes just a thumbs-up emoji on one of my posts. Small steps, but steps nonetheless. Then the local newspaper reached out. They wanted to do a feature, Hometown Artist Builds Empowerment Through Jewelry. I hesitated. Staying anonymous had protected me. But now, maybe it was time. Time to be seen. Time to tell the story, not of a lottery win, but of everything after. I agreed. The article went live on a Sunday morning. I didn't expect what came next. Hundreds of messages. Old classmates, strangers, even teachers from high school who had once told me to focus on real-world goals. Some apologized. Some asked for advice. One simply said, "Thank you. You gave me hope again." But not all the reactions were warm. An anonymous Facebook comment read, "Oh, she just got lucky. It's not like she earned it." And that stung, because yes, I'd won the lottery. But it wasn't money that built my studio. It wasn't luck that handcrafted every piece or stayed up until 3 a.m. polishing designs or paid off Rebecca's mortgage or created jobs for 2 struggling artists. That was me. Still, I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because something else happened that week. An email came in from a national lifestyle magazine. They wanted to feature May and Light in their holiday issue. Full spread. Photography, interview, even a short behind-the-scenes video. That was the moment I realized I wasn't building just a business. I was building a legacy. And yet, in the quiet moments, I still thought of the night I got kicked out, of the look on my dad's face, of the way Mom stood frozen torn between fear and disappointment. I didn't hate them for it anymore, but I couldn't forget it either. So when the magazine article went live, I mailed them a copy. No note, just the cover with my name printed at the top. from rejection to reinvention. How one woman turned her craft into a movement. 2 days later, Mom called. I read the article. She said, voice soft, 3 times. Silence. Then she added, we were wrong about everything. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything at first. Then I whispered, thank you. It was the first time she'd said it. Not we didn't mean to hurt you, not we were scared. Just the truth. We were wrong. That night, I walked through the studio alone. The lights were off, but moonlight streamed through the windows, catching the edge of a pendant I'd left drying on the bench. I picked it up. A thin silver medallion engraved with one word, unshaken. It wasn't listed for sale. It was just for me. Looking back at everything, the sleepless nights, the doubts, the harsh words from people I once called family, I realized this journey was never just about success or revenge. It was about proving to myself that I mattered, that my voice and my dreams deserved to be heard regardless of the obstacles. That small studio, the quiet resistance necklace, the community I built with the light room, these aren't just milestones. They're symbols of resilience and hope. They represent how I took the pain of rejection and turned it into fuel for creation and connection. It wasn't luck. It wasn't chance. It was sheer will and a refusal to let my past define my future. Even when harsh voices tried to drown me out, calling me lucky or undeserving, I learned that the true battle isn't against them. It's the one inside me between self-doubt and self-belief. Choosing to believe in myself every single day became my quiet resistance. The apology from my mother, the recognition from strangers, and the community I've grown, it all reminds me that healing isn't linear. It takes time, patience, and sometimes unexpected forgiveness. If you're listening right now, maybe you're facing your own battles, feeling unseen, unheard, or underestimated. My message to you is simple. Don't let anyone else's disbelief silence your dreams. You are worthy. Your story matters. And sometimes the most powerful act of revenge is choosing to heal, grow, and create a legacy that no one can take away. Thank you for being part of this journey. Remember, healing isn't weakness. It's the strongest form of revenge.